Hello and welcome to another Copenhagen Middle of Battle Gamers video. I'm your host Morten.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to do a special video because for the first time in I don't know how long, but I'm going to bet that it's many years.
Years on years.
At least, and what I haven't been able to find anything on the internet about any Danish tournaments going on for a very long time. But two of our friends, Morten Bendiksen, I think I'm allowed to say their names because they're managing them. Morten Bendiksen and Mark Bebe are hosting a tournament. If you were at Desolation Stockport 2015, then you might have met them.
Redesolation. Redesolation.
Yeah, exactly. Then you might have met them and maybe even played against them. But yeah, they are hosting a tournament, and it's going to be in Denmark, obviously. And it's called the Road to Fyn.
Road to Fyn. Now, Fyn is
it's an island.
It's an island that's practically in the south.
The dead center of Denmark.
Yeah, just off to the south there. And the tournament takes place on February 6th to the 7th, so it's a weekend tournament. It's single. And it's very cool that they have actually put together a tournament. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to go, but you will.
I'm like 75% certain that I will be going, and I'm leaning more and more towards 80% certain.
so you will most likely be going.
I really want to go,
and hopefully we can get. Hopefully you can get a little bit of content filmed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I go there, I'm gonna bring all my armies, and we're gonna film as much as we can when we're not doing tournament games.
Exactly. So that would be way cool. But we thought it would be quite a good idea to actually do a tournament rules pack review.
Yes.
So we have in front of us the rules pack, and we will be going through the rules pack, and because they have written 2 custom scenarios, which we will be talking about, reviewing what we think of it, and basically talk about what could happen at the tournament and how we think it's going to go down. So throughout this video, you will also be seeing the custom maps that Morten and Mark have designed. That will be put up on your screen as we go through them. And if there are any special rules for the specific scenario, that will also appear on your screen, so you can see what exactly we're talking about.
Yeah, and we'll also read up the price and where exactly it is, the address and stuff like that. Yeah. So do you want to do the little fluffy text they wrote as the introduction?
Sure, I can.
It's kind of funny.
I can read that out loud. Let's also throw it up on the
like
screen.
A scrolling text.
Let's totally Star Wars. Yeah. So excuse me for not looking at the camera for the next couple of minutes.
I will lip sync.
In the year 1658, the Swedish king Gustav X conquered nearly all of Denmark. On his way, he had to conquer Fyn. The 1st of February, he crossed the sea to the little but significant island of Fyn. That night, he slept in the small village Køng. 358 years and 5 days later, Køng will once again play an important role in Danish history.
Oh, yes, it will.
This time, the small village will host the first Hobbit Lord of the Rings SBG tournament in Denmark for a long time. You are hereby all invited to join the Road to Fyn. This will be a 2-day event and will take place on the school, where we have access to kitchen and bathroom facilities. We are also allowed to sleep there, which allows us to not only attend the tournament in the daytime, but also enjoy some casual gaming and Danish hygge Saturday evening. The dates are 6th and 7th of February, and they hope to see as many as possible.
And my first thought, besides the little fluff, is it also means you don't have to buy a hotel. You can just, as far as I understand, bring mattresses or something like that.
Sleeping bag or something, yeah.
Yeah, sleep on a table if you want to. Yeah, I guess that's one of the lucky things about a lot of schools in Denmark, is that they tend to allow people to have events in weekends. Yeah. I've been at like a big arranged LAN party at a school where we just sat in a great hall there, and then we slept in one of the classrooms.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's really nice that that's a possibility.
It makes it cheaper.
It makes it a lot cheaper. It's not may not be as comfy as checking into a hotel. However, it is not mandatory. Obviously, if you want to put out the money and just spend the night at a hotel, you can obviously just do that.
If there are any hotels in Køng, I have no idea if there are.
Or close enough, at least. But it is I think it's a very, very nice option. It's very well. Yeah, it's a great idea. Very well thought of. And regarding transportation, now we are based in Copenhagen. We are in Copenhagen right now, and
2 hour drive, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
4 hours if you have to use public transportation.
Yeah. However, you can actually there's a bus leaving from Copenhagen to Odense. Odense is basically the capital of food.
It's the big. It's like
the largest city.
What is like third or fourth biggest city in Denmark?
In Denmark, and the largest one on food. And you can get from Copenhagen to Odense in about, was it an hour and a half or 2 hours? Yeah. It'll cost, if you're a student, it'll cost 90 kroner.
Oh, that's what I'm doing.
90 kroner.
Wow.
And that's for our English friends, that's £9.
Yeah. It's basically almost exactly £9. Yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
I think I'm leaning towards 90% now.
So it's very cheap to get there, and you don't have to pay for accommodation, which means you are paying for transportation back and forth. So that will be less than £20, less than 200 kroner for a return ticket, and then you have to pay for the event, of course.
And that is 300 Danish kroner, so £30. So that's
£30,
less than £50 total.
So for £50, and plus, of course, any food that you might want to get while you're there.
I believe it says something about food later down, so we'll get to that because there's something somewhere in the thing I've read through it. There's something about some food arrangements that will mean that the part of your ticket will also go to your lunch the first day, I think.
Great.
I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, so far off to a great start. Now they mentioned something about army building, and what they're basically saying is you can use any of the Hobbit books. So that's Unexpected Journey, Desolation of Smaug, and Battle of the Five Armies. And then they of course also allow the 5 different Lord of the Rings source books: Kingdoms of Men, Free Peoples, Mordor, Moria and Angmar, and
the Fallen
Realms. Yeah. Exactly. So any of those books. However, there are some limitations. Because they want to have it a very themed battles. So they are advising that you try to go for fluff and not filth. So no Alfred in a non-themed army.
And it does say they're not banning it.
Nope.
They're really dissuading it. And I think since this is the first tournament in Denmark for a long time, and it's a pretty small community here, if we're lucky we'll get some outsiders, but I think since we're so few, I think the people from Denmark will definitely listen to that. I have a feeling that, and people are gonna. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but I hopefully won't see any shamans there. That would be cool if we don't.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to bring. There's a few characters you're not allowed to bring.
Yeah.
It's specifically the 0 Point Gollum from the Mordor list, probably inspired by the GBHL. They talked about it at some point. Why they didn't want that. And then there's Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, because they're kind of game breaking. They're made for scenario.
And Tom Bombadil, he doesn't have any stats. You just have question marks for everything. You basically you cannot kill him, nor can he kill people. So it would be absolutely ridiculous to bring him along.
Yeah.
Also, quick to mention is you're going to build your army, and you are bringing a 600 points force of either good or evil. Yeah. That's completely up to you, but only 600 points and only 1 force. They also pointing out that they use the GW, Errata, and FAQ, and also the GBHL FAQ.
We will put links to everything in our description just to help out, so you don't have to go search for the things on your own.
Yes. So they are using both of these. Obviously, they are going to use the Games Workshop because that's the official game system, and those are the corrected rules or frequently asked questions. So you can make sure that you follow the rules correctly. But they also decided to use the GBHL,
which I think I've looked at them before, and I think it's not they're not rule changing. They're just clarifying things that are unclear, and they're basically saying a clear yes or no to things.
Yeah.
Or sometimes giving graphs to describe things. Like I think they have one to describe hurl, where they describe this is where you actually measure from and stuff like that.
Measure from and
so it's if you don't know the GBHL FAQ, first of all, you're probably not going to need any of the stuff that's in there, but they do clarify some very specific situations.
Yes, and for example, you just mentioned hurling. I remember back on the GBHL group, there was a discussion last year about hurling.
Yeah.
Because there was a question: if you have the hurling model, and you have a model that it's fighting over here, could the hurling model technically pick him up and hurl him from
here,
some other side?
Like where does it come
so
from?
where do you actually measure from?
Yeah.
Can you
grab him from his back and then measure from the front?
Exactly. So in
that's
which direction
explained.
can you hurl? And there's stuff like that is explained in the GBHL FAQ.
So I applaud that they use that.
Yep,
I would have done the same. I would have done the same.
That's very good. They requested that you send your army lists to this email.
The road to Foon at gmail.com.
Yep. And they request that you send it on no later than the 4th of February.
Which is the same week that it starts.
Yeah. A couple of days before. Just 2 days before. Which I think is fair.
Yeah.
They need to go over it and make sure everything is legal.
Yeah. Let's say something else.
You
need to have a printed version of your army list.
To show your opponent. Makes sense. And obviously you need to have all your models painted and based.
Though I do know about that they did, because there's one person who wrote in and said he was fairly new to the game. He hasn't painted 600 points yet.
Yep.
And or at least, or maybe they were missing the basics or something like that. And he asked if he could be allowed, and then they said that if you don't have an army that you can bring at that point level, then maybe they'll allow it, but you should email them first.
You should always check with your TOs.
But if you have any army that's painted at 600 point, but you want to use another one, just use the one you painted. Then you won't get in trouble with them.
So is that. Then they go over the time plan. Registration, there'll be some games. The first one will be to the death on the first day. There'll be a break. Then they'll go into playing Domination. Then there'll be lunch, in which best painted and best themed fluff will be voted for. Then there will be the third game of the day, which is a custom scenario. We'll go over that in a second. There'll be another break.
Long night, yeah.
There'll be another break, and then the second custom scenario will be played, and then there will be an award ceremony, dinner, and much chillaxing.
So what do you think about the first day? The first thing I noticed is that every single game is an hour and a half.
Yep.
So obviously that means once you reach that hour and a half, they say stop, and you count your victory points if you aren't done.
Yep. So put your dice down, basically, after an hour and a half. I think it looks good. The day starts at 10 in the morning and ends at 7 in the evening. It's a good day.
I'm thinking an hour and a half, 600 points. People probably do it. I guess.
I think it's a little bit short.
I think it's a little bit short. I would have said 2 hours personally, but of course also like we did a 550 point battle today, which you will see in some point.
You'll see in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And that took exactly 2 hours, but of course we were filming.
Yeah.
So
it's not impossible.
So it's not impossible,
but you need to.
It is like you have to be fairly efficient.
And I think if don't let this refrain you from joining, obviously. Yeah. But if you don't know the rules very well, I'm sure Morten and Mark will love to have you anyway, and I'm sure your opponent will have no problem in helping you out, understanding the rules, and be a friendly opponent.
And
But if you don't know the rules very well, if you're new to the game, you probably won't be able to finish your game in the hour and a half time limit. And
I think also a general rule of thumb is, because I've had some games like that, which make sure to bring things where you know what your characters do pretty well.
Yep.
Don't bring a siege engine if you don't know how siege engine works, for example. Like that's just an example that I've come up against.
And so we're back. Quick camera problem there, but we're back. But yeah.
I think I finished my thoughts in the bring things you know fairly well how to use.
Yeah. Now day 2, we'll kick off with a game of Reconnoiter. Then there'll be lunch. Then there will be a game of Whole Ground. A break for half an hour. Then they're gonna play a modified Seize the Prize. Another break. Then there will be an award ceremony. And then they will be saying goodbye at 5:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So that will be a shorter day. It'll be 7 hours, whereas the day before was 9 hours.
Yeah, so it's only 3 games.
Only 3 games, where on the first day you had 4. So, Reconnoiter, Whole Ground, and a modified Seize the Prize. Seems like 3 fine games.
Yeah. Obviously, the modified Seize the Prize, we'll talk about that later too. Yep. It's a pretty common modification, because otherwise that scenario doesn't work.
So, but yeah, games again are an hour and a half. So, but if we go through the prices, there will be 4 prizes.
Yeah. So there's the Tournament winner, which is an obvious one. That's probably the last thing they're going to announce. Best painted army, was that on day one? Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Best painted army and best themed fluff was day one, and then tournament winner and wooden spoon is day two. And if you don't know what wooden spoon is, that's just the person with the lowest points, or the fewest won games. So it's the first place and the last place
basically
gets prizes.
Notably, there is they write tournament winner, not any runner-ups. So it'll just be a first place award, not a second and third.
But I think that makes sense, considering that they're expecting a very conservative 10. I mean, we're not expecting it to be. They're not expecting it to be a lot of people. So it makes sense that not everyone goes home with a prize.
So yeah. And regarding the custom scenarios, which are next in their in the rules pack here,
well, first of all,
there's the modified seize the prize, where they write that the prize can only be carried off the opponent's starting board edge, which means you cannot take it off the sideboard edges or on your own.
Yeah.
Which I think is very nice.
Very fair, because otherwise
this could be too easy.
Well, yeah. The thing is that if you in the normal version, if you grab the prize and then pull it back and then have your entire arm in the way, then the opponent can't get past to catch the guy with the banner. While here you have to push through the enemy line or around the enemy line to win the game. So I think that's a very good idea.
Yep.
And I think a lot of tournaments use that specific modification, and it makes sense.
Makes sense. So if we go into the first Cosmos scenario called the Long Night, and you can see the map up on your screen there. For starting positions, each player rolls a d6, and whoever rolls the highest gets to deploy gets to choose sides and deploy their first.
And now I'm looking at the map right now. So does that mean that you deploy within the B zone or the A zone? You think that's what it means?
No, I think the
or is it just from one edge?
You deploy in the B zone, and the A zone is basically the campfire. No, maybe not.
Or B is on the edges and A is the campfire? Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what it means.
And now then, you would deploy your first warband, and then the opponent deploys his second. First warband, and you deploy your second, and the opponent deploys their second, and until you're done. And then there are two objectives. There's one called Only Counts as One, which is you get a victory point for every single model that your leader kills.
So every single model, that also means that if he kills a rider and the warg stays in and he kills the warg, that totals one victory point, because it's the amount of models that he takes down, not the amount of wounds he makes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's an objective called Campfire, which in the center, as you can see on the map, there is a campfire placed, and you, at the end of the game, the goal is to have as many models within 12 inches of the campfire as possible.
Yeah, so that's pretty standard. That's like a high ground.
Yep. Like that. And say Morten and I were playing. Morten said you had 4, and I only had 3. Morten has 1 more model than I do, and therefore he gets 5 VPs. Had Morten had 2 more than I, he would get 10 VPs.
Yeah.
And the way the game ends is when one of the players one of them are broken. You roll a d6, and the game ends on a 1 or 2. If you roll a 3 to 6, the game continues.
Yeah.
However, there's a special rule.
There is, and that is called night fighting, which is for the whole game, a model's line of sight is restricted to 12 inches from the model. So that means that if you are an archer, you can only shoot 12 inches away from you.
There you go.
Unless you have some special rule. So that you know.
However, that's not specified. I mean, it doesn't say.
Well, a line of sight, you can't shoot things that aren't in your line of sight.
True.
So you can't shoot things that are more than 12 inches away from you. I think that's the intention.
Exactly.
For example, let's say that an archer did have fell sight like a fellwarg, then he would obviously. I mean, fellwargs would obviously ignore this. Not that that matters, because they can't charge 12 inches away. But,
yeah, they can only charge 10. But yeah.
So yeah,
there you go. So your line of sight is just restricted to 12 inches.
Which means bow armies will definitely suffer.
Elves.
Elves might suffer here. But on the other hand, I mean, because of the only counts as 1, I can kind of see the synergy of only counts as 1 and campfire, because campfire obviously means you want a lot of people in the middle, but your enemy will be going after killing troops, not heroes, because that's where you will be able to get your points quicker. So let's say that I'm fighting goblins. They might have more soldiers than me, but because I'm not going for the heroes, I'm going for the men, means that I can cut down their I'm focused on just cutting down their numbers to make sure that they can't have more than me within the side. So that's a way I also think maybe to make it a bit more fair for heroes.
Yeah, I think so. So which hero would you bring?
What would I bring?
Yep.
Smaug.
No, it's a 600 point game. Smaug is 700 points.
That's true.
This is true.
I don't know. A dragon.
Double dragon. No, you can't.
Double dragon.
You can't do
double. How many is just a base dragon?
Well, maybe you could. I think it's 275 for a dragon, isn't it?
It's 275.
I think it's 275, so you could bring double dragon.
Double dragon. That's what
there
I
you
go. Breath of Fire double dragons.
Yeah, but that Breathe Fire is an upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's yeah. So it's maybe dragons. They could be cool.
Dragons. That's fun.
I'm even thinking Aragorn with Anduril.
Yeah, just chopping them down. Yeah.
Always moving on force, regardless.
And Thorin with Orcust. Bolg.
Likey.
Yeah, but probably Bolg actually, because he keeps gaining extra special rules when he kills things.
Yeah, this is true. So there you go.
Mounted Bolg.
Mounted Bolg. Likey with Orcust.
Which incidentally I am bringing Mounted Bolg. I'm bringing 100 Orc Army.
You heard it here first. Now you can tailor against playing against Morten.
Yeah.
So that basically concludes the first custom scenario. There was the second one called Tides of Battle.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that one?
Okay, so the terrain is laid out as it says. So basically, the terrain is there, and as it is known, you can't move it. Deployment is shown on the map below. Each player rolls a d6, and the one who rolls the highest chooses where to deploy. So it's a pretty normal deployment, and so you roll and then you deploy one warband at a time, and it seems that you don't roll to decide where you put them. You just deploy one at a time. You don't have to roll to see where they put them. They are within 6 inches of your end, in either the A or B zone.
Yep.
So that's the objectives. The first one is orders complete, +2 victory points for each mission that is successfully completed within the 30 minutes. And this will make sense when we read the special rules.
Well, actually, let's just read that.
Yeah, let's read the special rules first, because otherwise, yeah, you're right. Let's do that.
Because what happens is when you start the game, well, before you start the game, you'll be given a deck of cards, and each you then through every 30 minutes of the game, which means since the game is an hour and a half long, you get 3 cards throughout the game.
I guess will you have time to get? Yeah, you start with one and then you get
30,
and then you're right. Yeah. If you get one in the beginning, then
you
have 3 cards.
Exactly. So
if they mean that you don't get one until half an hour in, then you get 2.
Exactly.
So that isn't entirely specified, but I think you get one at the beginning.
So you will basically have 3 cards, and on the cards there are written a specific rule, or even a task for you to complete within the following 30 minutes. And there are basically 5 different types. There's one called Kill the Leader, Scout, Control the Center, Break the Enemy, and 5 kills by the leader. And then you have 30 minutes to complete one of those 5, depending on what your card says.
And you then get a victory points for each mission you've completed within the time of
within 30 minutes.
So, for example, if I get the kill leader in the beginning, and I don't I kill him 31 minutes in, then I don't get any victory points for it.
Nope.
It's only if I do it within the first 30 minutes, for example. And then afterwards, maybe I get control the center. Then I have to be within a certain amount of the center. It doesn't say how much. Maybe I'm assuming that the card will say how many inches of the center that means.
And basically, also because there's a card apparently called Scout.
We don't know what that means.
Specify what that means.
We can guess, but we don't know.
We figured that it could either be that you have to get your model down to the one model supposedly down to the other end of the table, and either that or maybe you have to get one of your models behind the entire enemy force. So basically, you've scouted the entire enemy force.
But we don't know.
We don't know. It's not specified.
But it might say on the card. We
assume it does.
Otherwise, now you have time, Mark and Morten, to write on the cards.
Yeah. And now, so that's you get 2 victory points for each mission that is successfully completed within the 30-minute time limit. And then there's also a objective called First Blood, which means you get 1 victory point for making the first kill in the game.
So that will be an archer. Probably.
Like auto hit.
I mean, considering the fact that you start at the opposite end, it's probably going to be an archer.
Possibly.
Possibly. If there is an archer, it's going to be the archer.
Yeah, probably. Actually. But I can imagine somebody bringing a leggy, auto hit, just a regular
Killing a goblin, done.
Yeah,
That's one victory point.
basically. I mean, if you strength 3 bow on a goblin, defense 4 or 5 doesn't really matter. It's still 5s, and he has a might point. He has 3 might points even. So even if say you need a 5, as long as you get a 2, you can spend all his might point. Might not want to do that, but you can get 1 VP for it.
I mean, the thing is, if you get that first victory point, then you can play the defensive, and he has to start winning missions, because if you get that 1 point and you can just spend your time preventing him from completing his missions, then you might just end the game with 1-0.
Yep, that's a tactic.
That is a tactic.
That's a tactic. That's a tic-tac. Yeah. So there we go.
Oh, and then there is another special rule, which is chain of command.
Yep. And chain of command now is basically a way to pass down the torch from your leader, should he die. Because obviously there is a card called Kill Leader.
So there always needs to be an option to kill a leader if you get that.
Exactly. So you can't have, say I already killed Morten's leader
and then
in the first 30 minutes, and then I pick up a card called Kill Leader. Well, I already killed his leader, so who would be the leader now? Now, that would be whoever, hero or captain that Morten decides. If Morten is out of heroes because he only decided to bring 1, it will be the model with the highest courage.
So that means that it could be one elf soldier that I choose.
If all the models have the same courage on the table,
then you just choose one.
You just choose one. However, make sure that for your opponent's sake that it's clear which warrior it would be. So
maybe put a token down if they all look exactly the same.
Something. Put a die next to it or something.
And
so
probably put it on a high defense guy, so he doesn't die right away. Yeah.
So and that is basically the second custom scenario.
So yeah.
There we go.
Is that basically it?
That was it. So we had Modify Seize the Prize, and we had 2 custom scenarios.
What do you think of the new scenarios? Which one sounds the coolest to you? I think I like the Tides of Battle with all the cards and the special, where the entire, all the goals will change throughout the game. Yep. And another important thing is your opponent doesn't know what your mission is.
Very good point. It's kept secret.
So that means that he just has to deduct from what you're trying to do what your current mission is.
Yeah, and that's not revealed until the end of the game. If whether you actually completed your missions or not.
Yeah,
that's not revealed until the very, very end. Once the hour and a half has been completed.
Do you think?
The game ends.
And I mean, obviously, I don't know how how many missions there are, if there are repeats of the same. So maybe you get killed leader and then you draw killed leader again. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think you
get a pile of 5 each.
Yep, and then you get 1 of each in each deck,
and then might be how it is.
And then just shuffled, and it's random which one you get.
No, it's like there's 20 cards, and you go kill leader, kill leader.
So but that is effectively the tournament review.
So we were cut off once more, but as we were saying, basically we've ripped through it all.
We've gone through it all.
I really want to go. I'm very excited about it.
I wish I could go. However, it's looking very, very complicated with work.
Is it the fact that you just don't know if you have the time off?
No, it's during a weekend, so I am off. However, I am very busy. Probably on the Friday before, and I have to get up very, very early on the following Monday morning. Yeah. So it's the late night Friday probably, and
then a 2-hour trip home after 5:30 is when it's done, and then a 2-hour trip home and
up early Monday morning. Yeah. And because it's so busy at work, I'll probably have a lot of stuff to prepare for during the weekend. So it might actually have worked out in the end, but I can't commit to it. So I just have to say no, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a really shame because, as we said at the beginning of the video,
it hasn't been any, so it's a good initiative.
It's a very great initiative. But if another tournament came up in the Greater Copenhagen area or something, I might have been able to attend, because then the commute would have been a lot shorter. And I could maybe have gone, home after a game and actually worked and prepared for work and what have you.
Yeah, I
might have been able to work it out, but But with having to travel, as it were, for the game and being away from work and not being able to go to the office and stuff, it's looking difficult.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is with real life sometimes.
Yes. So, but let's not go down on a low note like that.
No.
It looks very good. It's I'm excited for the especially all the special scenarios.
Yeah, they're very well written. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I think it's particularly fun with the times of battle because it brings a whole new dimension to the game, bringing in cards. So
it's not just a slightly different version of one of the previous scenarios. It's completely different.
It seems,
and the fact that it changes objectives over the course of the game just means that every half hour it's like, oh, now suddenly the entire army turns around and goes another way.
Exactly, and it brings more of a board game feel to the SPG than just having it a miniatures game. Really, I think it seems like it suddenly becomes more of a hybrid kind of what.
And that sounds very good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But besides that, look at the description to click on all the links we'll have. Comment below, tell us if you're going.
Yep.
Make sure to tell them if you're going, and
of course,
make sure there's about 2 weeks from now for you to pay for your ticket. I think something like that.
Yeah.
Please go.
About 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks. This will be going up on Monday, the 18th. Of January, I think. And I think you have to pay by.
I think it's the last day of January.
So the 31st. So you have about 11 days. No, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? You have about just short of 2 weeks. To pay for your ticket. Again, it's 300 kroner, and that is for the 2-day event. Is for lunch and also the permission to basically sleep at the venue.
Yeah.
So make sure you can go. If you can't, try to make some changes to your weekend, if possible. I wish I could.
Keep it free.
But yeah, mark your calendars and make sure you go to the Road to Fruit on the 6th and 7th of February 2016. I think that was all for us.
And for us, I think we just want you to comment, like, share, and subscribe.
And support your hobby.
Like this, for example. By doing this, by going to this tournament.
There you go.
And happy Strategy Bell Gaming, also at the tournament.
See you guys.
Bye.